Okay, it's beef jerky time. Alright, now this is a recipe I've been doing for a very long time, off and on, constantly tweaking it, playing with it, experimenting. It's always had the same basic set of ingredients though. And I've made teriyaki, I've made them super hot, spicy, but lately I've been trying to refine it and get a proportioned recipe. Well, in this demonstration, we're not going to measure out everything, although I need to start doing that, measure out each and every item. But what I often do is I just sort of guess at what goes into it. There's a set of ingredients that's always in there. Okay, first you need yourself a bowl. Okay, and what we do is we mix up the marinade for the beef, because you need to marinate it for about 24 hours, give or take, and then put it in your dehydrator for 8-10 hours, give or take how long that works. So what the marinade has always consisted of is first soy sauce, okay, because you need that really good and salty flavor that soy sauce provides. Okay, that's about the right amount. Then we need a little bit of balsamic vinegar. We need some acidic acid to it. Okay. Then we need a little bit of red wine vinegar. And you want a dash of Worcestershire sauce. And this one's brand new. Come on. Where's the magic opening spot? Of course not. Alright. Get out your magic knife. Cut the label. There we go. Okay. Need a couple of dashes of this. Some liquid smoke, because, well, I don't have my own smoke. So I'll put some liquid smoke in there. Another key ingredient, good, cheap red wine. Probably the cheaper, the better. Okay, nice and cheap red wine. Go for whatever you can find that's really ultra cheap. And then if you're like me, you can have yourself a glass of it while you finish doing this. We'll call it Rogue's Drunk Kitchen. Today it's wine, tomorrow it's rum, another day it'll be beer. Depends on what we're cooking with it. Cooking on. Sometimes it's tequila. Okay, then you need some lemon pepper. Okay. Now, red pepper flakes are a good key ingredient. These are red pepper flakes here. Now, these ones here are not store-bought. I quit buying store-bought red pepper flakes a long time ago when I got myself a dehydrator and figured out how to dehydrate them myself and get a good consistency of them. So, more and more I dehydrate my own spices or grow my own spices. And more of that's going to be coming. You want some onion flakes in throughout. Okay. Garlic powder. Garlic powder is easier than putting in garlic cloves, although I'm going to chop up a couple of garlic cloves and throw them in here. Okay. Then you want maple syrup. That's what this is. It's maple syrup. Squeeze that in. Good chunk of that. Okay, honey. The best honey you can get is from your local providers. Because we've got to stir it, we need a fork. So we'll just get the honey on here, because we only want about a forkful. Okay. Love local honey. It is so good. Alright, so that pretty much covers all the liquid ingredients we need. Now, if you're like me, you want a little bit of spice to it, you can add yourself a dash of Tabasco to it. dash of Tabasco or two, or whatever your favorite red hot sauce is added to it. Now, I did forget, I like to put fresh ground pepper in here. Okay, fresh ground pepper, a little bit of fresh ground salt. I like to buy that pink Himalayan salt and use that. Okay, so that's everything on the ingredient list, I believe. So what we do is we mix this up and we get it nice and consistently, because you can feel the honey and the maple syrup is settled to the bottom. And you also got honey, you got honey all over your fork. You need that. And what you're going to do with this is you're going to set that off to the side. Once you've mixed it up a bit, set it off to the side. Because now comes the real fun part. Now you got to prepare your meat. Okay. Cutting board, especially for my meat. Now, the meat I choose here, okay, and this is over lots and lots of beef jerky that I've made. The meat that I choose is a inside round, okay, and inside round, it seems to be the best. Depends on your store, what they cut it, how they cut it. They generally cut these about a ½ inch thick, give or take. But what you're looking for when you're looking for the beef is you're looking for the ones that have the least amount of marbling through it. You want very little fat to be dealing with. Because the less fat there is in the beef jerky, the better it's going to be, and the better it's going to taste for you. Okay? So you get your knife, make sure it's nice and sharp. Give it a good polish on the steel, so you're all set. Okay, get yourself out a chunk of meat. Wash your hands before you even start all this, which I've already long since done. But set that up over there, one piece of beef at a time. What do we got here? A little spot on the meat. Okay, so you're looking at it. They got a little bits of fat. Trim that off. Any extra fat you've got on here, get rid of it. Try not to lose it much meat if you can. Just get rid of the fat, because you're going to cut this into bite-sized chunks. And this depends on what you want and what you're doing. Okay. Now, if we cut along here, those are some pretty long chunks. I like to cut something like this in about half. Okay. And then we just take here and you start cutting it down. Very, very simple. Now the hard part here is get some consistent thicknesses in your cut. That takes a bit of practice. Sometimes I get them a little too thick, sometimes they're a little too thin. It varies. What it means though is if you get them too thin, you'll have chunkier or crispier beef jerky. If you get them too thick, it'll be a little more chewy. So it's something you'll want to experiment with in your own beef jerky making, as to how thick to cut it. And after you've done enough of it, you'll pretty much have it down to a science. Now you'll notice I'm cutting on an angle. What that does is, one, it helps open up the grain a bit, I think. Kind of like the old days of cutting London broil to make it a little bit more tender. But it also makes them a little bit wider. Hard part is keeping consistent on that angle. Sometimes I lose the angle and I end up cutting too straight down. So of course you get to the very end and then you got to go straight down anyway. So you get a varying in sizes. This has turned into one of the favorite things for me to bring camping for my boys and my scouts. My boys often want me to make beef jerky just on random. It's like one of the favorite snacks in this house. Beef jerky, you can store it for a while. I've experimented with putting it into vacuum sealing and oxygen things in it, see how long it would be to keep it fresh. I've kept it for as much as 6 months. The problem in this household here, beef jerky rarely lasts more than 30 days from the time it's made. We're lucky if it actually lasts 2 weeks. So it's not a big concern about the length of time it will survive. Uh-oh, I threw the fat in there. Oh well, we'll fetch it out later. Wasn't paying really good attention there, was I? Alright, there's one chunk of meat. The other one out. And again, you want to split this in two. It all depends on how your butcher cuts it for you. I have experimented with trying to dehydrate the fat. It just doesn't work. Fat will not dehydrate. That's why you need very lean meat. You need it very lean to get it to dehydrate really well. The leaner the better. Probably the reason why wild meat makes such good beef, good jerky, is it's lean. It's fat does not dry. If you were freeze drying it, you'd get away with it. But dehydration, no. After all, they freeze dry things like butter, which is pure fat. Freeze dry things like milk but you need some really good equipment for doing that. Again, it always comes down to whatever your favorite tastes are. And the more you do this, the easier it becomes, the better it'll taste. And the beauty about this, once I actually take the time to measure it all out, write this recipe down, it'll be available on the Rogues Tavern in a members only section. I'm slowly developing the members only section for the Rogues Tavern, and the members only section will have things such as access to my recipes, access to any tips and information I have that is kind of unique and different, access to some specialized stuff. So just something for everyone. And when you're done, wash your hands. Alright, get rid of that. Okay, you bring this back in. There it is right there. Let's get a good close-up look at that. take and you stir this around. Try to separate all the beef chunks up to make sure the mix gets well mixed in there. Now the container I'm using is just an old Tupperware container that's perfect for the approximately 1 pound of beef I got. Actually, how much beef did I get here? 650 kilogram, 0.650 kilo, so just over a pound of meat is what this is. And I bought it, was on sale, it was $10 for the meat. It's probably cost me $3 worth of spices and ingredients. So on the whole, I would say it got me maybe maximum $15. Okay, so you can save a ton of money making your own. Well, you got to add the money in there, for what takes you electricity and your time, etc. But by just doing this, you go price out, 60 grams of beef jerky is like $5. By the time this is dried down, I think I measured the weight one time of it, drying it down, and it came out to like 300-400 grams of beef dried. And when I priced that out of the store, it would have cost me $30. So that's what you can get. There you go. Rogue's Tavern, making your own beef jerky. Now you just let this marinate for 24 hours, and I will come back after this is done, and we'll show you putting it on the dehydrator. Talk to you soon. Kadiki, it is time. This has been sitting for at least 24 hours. Nice and soaked up. Pulled it all out. Looks really pretty. Look at that. Ah, that was dumb. Should have lifted the camera to that. Now I gotta clean up a mess. Better do that first before I do anything else. Before I get all my feet. My feet were down there. Alright, let's try that again. Okay. Look at that. Nice and pretty. Been sitting for 24 hours. We have a fair amount of beef in here. So now what we do is we put it into the dehydrator, and once that's all spread out, we put it in and let it start drying. So basically you just start getting it all spread out. And we're supposed to start this on the bottom one, drips down through, and that's what we have the tray at the bottom for, to capture that, because it drips and drips and drips and drips and drips and drips. Make sure you spread it out really nice and evenly. Get all this spread out. Smells good. If you like raw beef, man, this is a really good time for some sashimi. Really nice marinated sashimi. That's what we're looking at here. Alright. Let's get this. One tray. we might end up with 3 trays of beef here. Find out. Alrighty. Beef spread out. Yeah, we're gonna end up with 3 trays of beef here. Get another tray. Tray. You could have 4. That's interesting. It's a lot of. I got a lot of thin slices here, so a lot thinner than usual. I must not have been cutting too well. Got some thick and some thin. Spicy roulette going on. The occasional piece has got the seeds of the hot peppers stuck to it. I like spicy roulette though. Never know what you're gonna get. Life is like a box of chocolates. You never know what you're gonna get. Alright, so we put this on top, let that drip down. We take this, just to give you a good look at it, let's lift up. There we go. Look at that. One nice, beautiful beef jerky in the raw. With this, we'll move it over to our dehydrator. dehydrator. It's right there. Okay, put on the dehydrator. Take this, set it right on the dehydrator. Turn the thing on. Set it to the maximum temperature, 158. And we want to go for at least 14 hours to begin with. And we let it run. So we'll check back in on it later. Well, we're almost there. Getting pretty close to being done. We'll come back to this in a little while and give it a taste test and see how we do. I think it's going to be good. Looking good. Fresh jerky. Alright, so here we go. We have it now. We have completed beef jerky. Let's take a look inside and see what we got. Nice and fresh. Get some stuff out of the way. Bring this up. Take a look at the camera. Look at that. Really nice beef jerky. Excellently done. Now this recipe here will eventually end up on the membership section of the Rogue's Tavern where you can go get it. In the meantime, you'll have to guess by watching the video a few times to get all the ingredients you want. So what do you do with it once you get to this point here? Well, there's multiple things you can do with it. One, you can start eating it right away. And it turns out I have made roulette beef jerky. In other words, some of these have very spicy bits in them, but not all of them. So you never know if you're going to get one. That's the joy of it. Good stuff. Alright, so I actually stack a whole bunch of it into, use myself an old mason jar, and I put most of it into the mason jar and let it sit there. This is where it makes it easy for me to get to, my kids to get to. I can portion it out, give it to friends. We'll stick it in Ziploc bags and take it on our winter camp this weekend. You'll see some videos coming up over the next week or two about the winter camp that is about to happen, where we're heading up onto the mountain and go camping in the snow. So, yeah, this is one of my best recipes. I think this is my final recipe. I just got to tweak and refine and get the exact ingredient amount mixed out for it. This is, I like this one. Definitely like this one. Alright, so that's what we got. That's it for the Rogue's Tavern. And beef jerky from the Rogue's Tavern.